What up, Lions Nation Unite? It's your boy Eazy, and I'm joined along my guy Scott Bischoff, and we're here to break down the Detroit Lions versus Seattle Seahawks. If you guys don't know Scott, he's been an NFL scout. He's been in the NFL community for a very long time, and I'm honored to have him on the show. Thank you for coming on today.
Anytime, man. I'm happy to be on with you. Thanks for the kind words. I'll send you a check.
Thank you, man. Thank you. All right. So there's a couple things I want to touch on, and I'm not very organized. This is our first time doing the show, but I texted you a few things, and one of the things that you want to touch on was Terrion Arnold, and you like that he remained in phase throughout week one. Anything you want to emphasize on that, or I can even put some stuff on the screen if you prefer?
Well, I don't know that you need to. It's more as a young player, super young player, he doesn't look lost in where his body is in coverage, no matter who he's guarding. And the Lions like to do a lot of man stuff, so that's tough, right? It's tough to ask a young player to hang with NFL receivers who are great route runners and all that stuff. The thing that he has going for him that has always popped is what you kind of refer to as reactive athleticism. So when the player he's covering changes direction, he has no problem staying with them. He has no issues flipping his hips. There's really nothing limiting his movement ability at all. So one of the things that stands out is that for the most part, in almost every way, he's really tight in coverage all over the place. He's been grabby. So there's the penalties that have popped up, but he is in position to make plays. Maybe not. I mean, that's not necessarily his. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
He's in a great position physically because of his footwork, his ability to flip his hips, all that stuff. He just needs to refine in some ways. Is he on the bottom of the screen there? Is at the top of the screen?
On that one, I couldn't tell, to be honest with you. I should have picked some specific ones. I see
No,
my
it's
guy.
okay. I mean, it's sort of making the point. I think he was at the top of the screen on that one.
Yeah, yeah.
So his body is in a position for him to be in really good position in coverage, and that's a very promising thing. It's not an easy thing to do. Has he gotten a touch grabby? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I think over time he'll understand, very quickly what the NFL wants to call when it comes to like pass interference kind of stuff. I think that there's a difference between the way you play in college and the way you play in the NFL, and that he's, there's some of the pass interference stuff will get better over time. He's a smart guy. He'll learn, but he's already, most guys struggle to be in phase and to stay in locked down in coverage. He's already got that. So it's just a matter of refining some things, So I'm super optimistic, while I'm sure some other people are frustrated with the penalties and some of that stuff. I think that's to be expected, but the way he stays locked down in coverage, I think, has been remarkable. And it's just a matter of time before before the light bulb pops and a picks come, or a pick comes. Maybe this week is one of those moments, because he is in really good position physically. So I'm really optimistic about what he's shown through three games. And I know that's a little bit of a different take, but whatever. It's I just think that physically he looks the part, and he moves so easy in his lower body with his footwork, with his hips, all that stuff. And then he's physical. He does all that stuff. He's got it all. I think he's been, the penalties have been a problem, but he's right where he needs to be. Take away some of those penalties, and you're looking at a player who's kind of doing a really good job in coverage.
Yeah, the only to be honest with you, and I know this, I am a fan of the team, obviously, and I'm gonna have like somewhat of a bias, but like I'm more disappointed with the officiating. I feel like you see that same type of coverage in Sauce Gardner highlights. I mean, there was the one that there was one I got, and I said, okay, I mean, you can't really be doing that, but like it felt like a lot more ticky tacky stuff than I guess blatant pass interference. And then just for like reference for Detroit Lions fans who are, I guess, been fans long enough because we have a lot of bandwagon fans these days. But like Jeff Okudah, another early investment at the cornerback spot, he looked lost. He looked like he was getting physically abused out there sometimes, like coming off the line or just, and it just that's not the case with Terrion. He, like you said, he's in phase, he's there, and
That's a
eventually soon
perfect way
enough
to
he
put
can
it.
make
Like
a play.
if you think about Okudah and how Okudah would get abused early in his career in trying to stay in coverage, or even think back to like Cam Sutton last year, how just out of sorts he looked in every way. Terrion Arnold does not look like that in coverage. So I think there's a lot of reasons to be super hopeful and positive, and with positive vibes about what he does look like, even with the penalties. I can see, in defensive meetings, the defensive back coach telling him like, "Hey, this is remarkable. You're doing a great job. You're exactly where you need to be. Just don't grab now, or get your head around," kind of thing. You're in such perfect position. If you get your head around, it's a pick. He's there.
Yes.
So it's just refining the last components of that. But there are corners who get drafted early who already can't do the things that Arnold is doing very regularly. So I sound like I'm I'm a member of the Arnold fan club, but
I saw your jersey.
yeah, it's just that last year the secondary was so bad, and it was such a hole, and now they've injected so much talent there, and that talent is playing up to what we expected. We haven't seen much of Rakestraw, but when you look at Arnold, I think Carlton Davis is playing pretty well. Robertson's playing really good, and then you got the secondaries playing pretty well. Suddenly, that defensive backfield looks pretty good. So, that's how I'm seeing Arnold at this point. I just think that the liabilities come with the penalties, but everything else looks really, really smooth and good.
Yeah, I think that's my bad. Or at least I don't know how to mute that. Actually, I never know how to mute that one. But either way, I think it allows Kirby to play the best version of himself too. That's just that single high guy, that the playmaker in the backfield. I mean, Brian Branch obviously been helped with that a lot too. He's obviously dealing with a concussion protocol. We don't know if he'll be present in this matchup, but yeah, I think just having someone there that is somewhat competent, or like you said, could just be in phase, has helped allow Kirby or even Branch at times to, be the playmakers that they are. And I think that's huge for this defense. That's huge
Yeah.
for any defense. Turnovers are key in any football game.
Yeah, and then you look at how much pressure the defensive line's getting, and it makes the job easier for the
Yeah.
secondary. And the same thing. I mean, if you're in coverage better, quarterback's got to hold the ball a little longer, which makes it easier for the D line to get home. So those things are kind of they're in concert with one another. Lions are in a really good place. It makes me super uncomfortable to say that.
Yeah.
I'm 54, and it's like, I don't remember, it's like we're pregnant with this team, like seriously, because the vibes around this team are just off the rails right now. They should be 3-0. The Tampa loss was a little bit, I think that was on them.
Yeah. I
But
was disappointed with Ben Johnson in that game. And that's my
yeah, they
guy.
really got away from what, I mean, do you want to transition there and just talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, I'm down. They got away from that identity. That offense, it seems it's crazy because I remember specifically in the offseason, key things that made me excited for this team going into this season, which I should have expounded on that pregnancy thing. That was a crazy. That was awesome.
Sorry.
You're good.
I'm gonna say stuff that you're gonna go, what's he talking about?
Yeah. Either way, though, I just feel like everything they sold us on this offseason with that offense is like, this is offense 401, because this is like their third and a half year being the Ben Johnson installment, or at least with that scheme, those that identity. And it's this start of the season, even though last week they got back to running the football, it just feels like in the passing game at times, I feel like they're trying to be too vertical. Maybe the emergence of
100%.
Jameson Williams has got them, both Ben and Goff a little overstimulated, and he's just not that type of quarterback, in my opinion. With all due respect,
No, I get
do
you,
what works
and
for you.
I agree. I couldn't agree more with, especially in week 2. They threw the ball 55 times.
Mhm.
And that was in a game where you gave up 20 total points. You gave up 7 points in the second half. You didn't need to do that. Their identity is a team that runs the ball early, puts themselves in good down and distance, and then it's play action kind of stuff. Goff loves to throw the ball over the middle of the field into the intermediate parts of the field.
Yeah.
So like that 5 to 15-yard range. It's really where he's at his most effective. Like think about all the digs that Amon-Ra St.Brown runs where like
Yeah.
the Lions iced that game on Sunday with one of those 15-yard
Yep.
digs. That's where Goff makes his money.
Yep.
And against Tampa, they threw the ball into that 5 to 15-yard window 2 times
Yeah.
in that 55 throws. So either the throws were in the flats, at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. And Tampa blitzes so much and they run so well side to side. Those plays they were death before they were run. Or Goff was pushing the ball too far down the field. And I think there was a level of, they were kind of, they were punching above they're punching above their weight if they're all the time throwing the ball to the deeper parts of the field. As an example, like there was a play in that game. It was 3rd and 2. They ran a slot fade to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was blanketed. But Sam Laporta was running underneath that route in the same window.
Yeah.
And he pushed the ball down the field to St. Brown, which was going to be an almost impossible throw to make.
Yeah. Come with the one outside the numbers.
Yeah, it was outside the numbers.
Yeah.
It was going to have to be the perfect throw. But
Yep.
Laporta was there 10 yards downfield. And in the past, it would have been, all right, Laporta goes 12 yards, gets first down. We're good. Goff's decision-making in that game in particular was to try to push the ball down the field. That is not where he has been successful.
Yeah.
And it's not what the Lions do well either. But I get it with Jameson. I think,
yes,
I understand it. And they just missed a couple times last week to Jameson Williams. You can still make splash plays with him. It's just their offense needs to be real run heavy, play action heavy, and then hitting the intermediate parts of the field. That's where they're at their best.
Yeah.
They did that in the first half, specifically on the first drive against Arizona. I'm not surprised. These are smart guys. They went and they looked at the film of the Tampa game and they saw, all right, we got away from our identity a touch. And they went right back to it against Arizona. That was a nice win on the road. But I really do think that they did get away from the things that they do really well. So it didn't surprise me to see, Montgomery look the way he did on that first drive and get a touchdown. It didn't surprise me to see them hit the little areas of the field where they're really good at doing that. So
I'm glad they almost lost that game so they could revert back to where they belong, because I get the Jameson Williams stuff. Like you want to go deep with him and I get it, but like you could pace yourself into that because he's always going to have that, especially if you're, drawing them in with the run first, then go deep with them. Or like,
you don't have to even throw it deep. Those over routes where he runs away from everybody, hit him there. Let him run with the ball.
On the heavyweight show, I feel like you could put him almost in like a. I want to be more healthy than this gentleman, but like Percy Harvin, you remember him? He was doing all that crazy stuff too, and he had the 6 speed. Like, don't force.
I think Harvin was built for contact a lot more than JMO is, though. He had so much wiggle where, if you threw a screen pass to him, he was going to bounce off somebody and then run away from them. Where I don't want JMO taking that kind of contact. But I do like the idea of hitting him on the run in that shorter throw range and just letting him run.
Yeah.
And last week they missed a couple. They missed one on the sideline where it was just overthrown just a touch.
Yeah.
So there are big plays to be had with him. There are.
Is that tough? That's a tough throw to make though, too, right? Or no? Like I didn't hate it. I don't know if anybody's making that throw. Everyone's just making that one.
It's a tough throw to make. I think Goff drifted a little bit to make that throw a little harder than it needed to be because his feet were not perfectly set.
Yeah.
And when JMO came open, it took him a beat more, longer, to make the throw, and then it just kind of carried him out of bounds. If
Yeah.
Goff kind of hangs in the pocket right where, the snap was, or even if he drifts just a little bit to his left, I think that as he comes open, he's ready to throw the ball there, and the timing works up. So that's a completion kind of a thing. But the drifting, and again, I didn't watch it perfectly well to know why he drifted so far left.
Mhm.
There might have been pressure. I don't know that there was, but I mean, maybe there was,
He's
maybe
feeling
the
himself.
plan, maybe the plan was to let some, either a blitzer or the DN come free. So he felt he needed to drift. These are things that we'll never know. We could just speculate at it, but I know he drifted, and then it threw a little bit of the timing off. But still, it was a really nice play. It was a nice throw, just a touch late. That stuff is going to be there with JMO because he's uncoverable when he runs those kind of routes. Like, if he gets any defensive player to take even a bad quarter step, he's open. He's just there's so much there. So I still think
Yeah.
there's explosive stuff that can happen with him. It just doesn't have to be, 40 plus 50-yard throws. It's great if it is, but it shouldn't be. The offense shouldn't be predicated on pushing the ball, down the field at the expense of their efficiency, which is what they do best, which is just getting first downs, moving the chains, and all right, we're going to run it through your teeth, and we're scoring. Is this the play? See
Yeah.
Goff
He's right here.
drifting. I don't know why he's sliding so far over
Yeah.
to the left hash.
See, who's this, number 6 or number 2? I was like, "Oh, it's probably tough to get that over his head," but you're right. If he just set his feet, he
You can
probably
see
just
it. You can see it on this view
moved them
right
up.
here. Watch
Yeah.
how much he drifts. So he could stay right there,
Yeah.
planted, and now he's got to reset his feet as he's already been open. And yeah, you got to
Yeah.
layer that throw, but Goff can make that throw. I just think if he throws the ball now,
Yeah, his feet was literally moving out as he's yeah.
yeah. So you can see where some of that kind of drifting stuff isn't necessarily great. That's
Yeah.
why, as an example, Drake May did that a ton at North Carolina, and it's concerning
Mhm.
because there are moments where he'll drift into. I don't know why I'm talking about Drake May.
No, you're
Um,
fine. I mean,
he
football's
he
football, man.
he drifts
I
into
know what you're talking
pressure.
about,
Like
though.
there
Yeah.
might be, on that situation, the left tackle might get walked back a little bit, and instead of hanging right where the ball gets snapped, May would have drifted into the lap of the left tackle because he just wants to drift. And
Yeah.
you got to be disciplined not to do those things. Again, I don't know exactly why Goff did. Maybe he perceived that pressure was coming off the edge, or a blitzer was, and
Yeah.
he needed to buy himself a little time to make that throw. I don't know. But
Um,
those are available. Those kind of plays are available.
yes, I agree. That's why I'm not too concerned with the offense. I think they'll get it figured out. Like you said, I saw Sam Laporta in week 2, uh, tons of times open. But
Yeah.
speaking of being disciplined, this team is missing some key playmakers, or likely to be missing some key playmakers in this game, both offensively and defensively. Obviously, Brian Branch, Ali McNeil, Derek Barnes, Marcus Davenport gone for the season. That stuff kills you. Offensively, you got Frank Ragnow, Sam Laporta dealing with the ankle injury. Who is it that needs to step up in the absence of some of these guys, some of these names?
So if we go on offense, I would expect Ragnow to miss this game, although I'm sure he's arguing with them right now about, hey, I'm playing, because that's just who he is. With the bye coming up, I think it would be smart to just let that settle down a little bit. So I would imagine Glasgow kicks over to center. It's one of the reasons why he was such an important free agent signing last year. And then I think Awasika probably plays at left guard for them, just as a fill-in. I don't necessarily know who else it would be. I mean, they do have options, but I don't have a great answer as far as who that's going to be. And we don't
Yeah,
have great information because the game's on Monday, so everything's a
little later
everything's a day
today.
later, right? Davenport's done for the year. Um, I had saw that McNeil was day to day, so I don't know what to expect, whether he does play this week. If he does, it may be more of a limited fashion. But
Mhm.
you do have, with Reader here now, Onzarike can play as the 3,
Yeah,
and he's played really well since, like, the
Man,
back half of last year into this season, he
he's
has.
so fun to watch, man. I
He
love
is,
Enrique.
yeah. And then I think the plan, at least according to Campbell, was to allow Josh Pascal to play more on the edge, in to replace Davenport. But I would imagine they need some pass rush. So
Mhm.
maybe we all want James Houston to be a thing, but at this point, I'm not sure if it is.
Yeah,
I mean, I would love for it to be, and I would love for them just to you are our situational third down pass rusher. So
yeah,
maybe that's the plan: is Pascal takes first down, second down rolls, and if it's third and long or whatever it is, maybe that's when you bring Houston and he'll take 20 snaps in this game. Kind of, I don't know,
yeah.
but
I
I
was
mean
even thinking,
there's an interesting. I don't know how if you want to do a little bit of speculating. Um, but it's already out there. So I don't think it's ridiculous of us to do it. But Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals may be a player who is available. Why are you
yes.
smiling like that?
Cause man, I just put a video out on this channel the other day about that. Just makes a lot of sense. He's formerly in New Orleans before, previously. So either he, as in Dan Campbell or Aaron Glenn, I'm sure have somewhat of a relationship with him. Then you have
Yeah,
the situation with DJ Reader playing alongside him, and then I look at just a lot of the edge rushers across the league at the top of the game that have guys on the other side of them. Alex Highsmith to TJ Watt, Trey Hendrickson and Darnold. It's a lot of these teams have two different guys, and I just think that's something. I think so, it's something Brad planned on doing this season, regardless.
yeah.
Uh, Last year, at the deadline, he sounded kind of pissed off at that presser, like he's close to grabbing someone, but just couldn't quite get a deal done. But like I truly believe this team's in a Super Bowl window. When Trey Hendrickson wanted to be traded before the season started, it just makes absolute sense. Obviously, they're not looking for like a edge rusher per se. They're looking for someone who could set the run, or play the run. And I think Trey Hendrickson is that.
Oh, for sure. And he did ask for a trade earlier this summer. He
Yeah, I apologize. I said set the run.
No, you're good. He did ask for a trade. The Bengals are a team that have uh, they have some cash issues, financial stuff going on. I do believe it's one of the reasons they couldn't get Chase done long term is because of the actual cash problems that they have.
Hmm.
Um, my assumption is that for a soon to be 30-year-old pass rusher and a team that is 0-3 with a player who's already asked to be traded specifically to a place like Detroit, um, a lot of that stuff sort of adds up, right? And then you
Yeah,
present the owner the possibility of, hey, here's $27 million that we'd already earmarked to spend that you get to have back, and
yeah,
then we can use that money for other things. I think that's intriguing that would have to be intriguing for Cincinnati. I'm speculating there, but still,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the idea that they could use that money to sign Chase and more um, has to be intriguing for them. But at 0-3, it sounds like Hendrickson is not a locker room problem, but he needs to be. There's a little bit of that squeaky wheel needing grease at times, and I think it's very obvious he wants to win. He wants to play meaningful football games.
yeah,
Um, I don't know how soon this would happen, but it makes every bit of sense that there is, and that's the kind of move that if Holmes makes it, it's like all right, we're playing a poker game, and I'm pushing my chips in, and we're all in for the next
hmm
2 years. And I do think that they would be. I don't think it's tough to argue. Maybe the best team in football in that situation where if you bring a player like Hendrickson aboard, man, you know, um, where's the hole? Where's
yeah,
where's the problem outside of injuries? Where's the problem, right?
yeah.
So
And the crazy thing too about even with the injuries considered, right? Like we have depth. Like if not depth in the sense where everyone's like stars across the board, but guys that can be responsible in those roles. Even in this situation right now, obviously you want Frank Ragnar out there because he's one of the best centers. But like I'm comfortable with Graham playing a little bit at center. Aoki
I think he's
started
better
at
as a
guard
center
for us.
than he is as a left guard. I mean, I
Yeah,
do. So yeah, I'm very comfortable with him.
yeah. You
Um,
got you got you got the plethora of linebackers. The Brian Branch situation sucks because I think he's phenomenal. I think
yeah,
he's one of my favorite players to watch, and
he
I
is
hate
a
throwing.
dude.
Yes, but they didn't put Afonso Miller went on IR. So I'm assuming they expected him to come back or be ready within 3 to 4 weeks. This is week 4. Iffy, another depth piece for you at that spot too, at safety. And he was
Yeah.
phenomenal there last year. Like, we are just deep across the board. I think we
Yeah.
have great coordinators and coaching. It's across the board too. Beyond coordinators, I think Hank Fraley is one of the best offensive line coaches. I think Calvin Shepard's a great linebacker coach. Like, we're just a stout team all around. And you grab an elite piece like that, man, we're swinging
Yeah.
for the fences.
Yeah, but that's what really good teams do in positions to when the window opens. I think the window opened for them last year earlier than
They
we,
expected.
as people who kind of follow them, thought. They may have thought the window was right there then. Who knows? I don't know. But
I don't think so.
I don't think they did. I don't know. Who knows? It's just
Yeah.
that team. Okay, the Lions were in the NFC Championship game. There was some really weird stuff that went on in that game. There are 3 or 4 things that happen in that game that if one of them doesn't, they're likely in the Super Bowl. And that team got significantly better in the offseason. That team did. They did. The secondary room overhauled with talent. You add DJ Reader. So I don't think it's uncomfortable for me to be talking about the Lions this way, because for so long there's just been no hope of it being like this. But we have to recognize it for what it is. It's a very good team. They do have lots of depth. They do have lots of interesting pieces all over the place. This matchup this week, though, is it's an interesting matchup because Seattle has really had the Lions number the last couple of years. They really have. And I don't necessarily know. I mean, I think I have a little small explanation, but it doesn't explain a lot. So
What is it?
I don't know that physically they could get to the quarterback enough to force Geno Smith to be uncomfortable, coupled with the fact that DK Metcalf was just too big, too fast for them, and to hang with him in coverage. He
is good.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, and he still is like. So
Yeah.
you're not.
He's off the hot start this year too. I think he had like 104 yards and like 4 catches last week.
Yeah, but one of them was like a 70-yard touchdown, right? A 71-yard touchdown. He is. He's too big, too fast for them last year. There wasn't anybody who could hang with him. And the Lions want to do a lot of man stuff, and he was just going to bully them. He just is. It's like AJ Brown with the Eagles is another player who it really doesn't matter who you're matching up with him, unless that guy is so physically capable of staying with him, they're in trouble. So the Metcalf combination with their inability to get pressure was a problem, and then things just spiral in those games. Plus, Seattle's defense is pretty legit, right? Specifically in their defensive back core. Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon are really good players. I fear those guys. I don't know that in this matchup, the Lions are going to throw the ball all over the place and have success. But so I have a bunch of numbers. You could tell me right now, and we don't even have to get into them if you think this way. Seattle has played at home against Denver, rookie quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. They played on the road against New England in week 2.
Career backup.
Yeah, like that offense is it's okay. And then last week they played home against Miami without Tua, with Skylar Thompson. So it's like, okay, they're 2-1, right? I think they're 2-1. But their numbers are crazy defensively because they haven't played anybody. None of those 3 teams really are teams that you would think, wow, that's a
Seattle's 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that they should. I mean, they should be 3-0, but defensively, Seattle's number 1 yards per attempt against the pass, 4.7 yards per attempt, which is silly. It's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
But Bo Nix isn't threatening you. Jacoby Brissett's not threatening you, and neither is Skylar Thompson. So how much value do we even put into these 3 games? I don't know. But I will tell you this. In week 2 on the road against New England, Antonio Gibson carried the ball 11 times for 96 yards.
Wow.
Ramondre Stevenson carried the ball 21 times for 81 yards and a touchdown, right? So there's Seattle's issue. And then you look at their injuries because they have injuries themselves. And Byron Murphy is banged up. So is Leonard Williams. Those guys haven't practiced. I don't know what their status is for Monday night, but without those guys, the Lions should be able to run the ball at will against this team, and that works well in the perspective of taking the air out of the ball, slowing down the game, and not giving Seattle as many offensive possessions as is normal, because running the ball takes time off the clock. And I think that's the plan in this matchup, is to try to reduce possessions, because Seattle's going to be able to throw the ball here and there.
Yeah.
I do think it makes it a little more challenging for them on Monday night in Detroit. It's going to be loud. It's going to be wild. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because the Lions are doing pretty well in coverage, I could see Hutchinson walking away from this game with 1 or 2 more sacks.
Yeah.
He's going to get pressure.
You got another backup this week too. You saw that?
Yeah. So Seattle has their own set of injuries. Again, Seattle's done okay against the run, not great. They're tied for 13th. They give up 4.4 yards a carry, but I'm not going to look at any of their opponents and really think too much about it. I mean, juxtaposed by the Lions, they've played the Rams, Tampa, and Arizona.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know how much we want to put into Seattle's start. I think Kenny Walker probably is out again, which is a nice bonus for the Lions.
Yeah.
Because Charbonnet he's not the running back that Walker. He's a good player, but he's not Kenny Walker type player. So some of this is script too. Like in the Miami game, Seattle was up. I want to say they were up 17-3 at the end of the first quarter. The game was over at that point in time. They just needed to run out the clock. Miami wasn't coming back in that matchup. That game was over after the first quarter. I just, there's a lot going on with Seattle. They hosted Jason Peters this week. So, they do have tackle issues. There's no way he played this week, but it just tells you they've got some issues.
Yeah.
And, if Murphy and Williams miss on the D line, you still, Tariq Woolen's going to blanket somebody in coverage.
Yeah.
And Witherspoon's physical. He's going to blanket somebody in coverage. So this would be a great game for Laporta to be out there and just, feed him. But we'll see with the low ankle sprain.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets back in time. You just never know.
I say something? I still think Ben could cook. I love Laporta, by the way, too. But when we traded Hawkinson, we went on to have the most most touchdowns by tight ends in franchise history. Ben Johnson, former tight end coach, Dan Campbell Ford. I think we'll be able to cook up something for these tight ends regardless. I think you saw Brock Wright catch a few balls last week too. And I'm with you, man. I love Byron Murphy, by the way. I'm so happy he's not playing. And then I love Leonard Williams too, actually. But both those guys, those are key. Look, remember the overtime drive we had? Just duo.
Yeah.
I think that's the recipe for this game, man. The stuff that scares me is, like you said, Devon Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen, combined with Mike and McDonald. That's the part that makes me a little bit nervous, just because we went to Baltimore last year.
I hear you.
Seemed to have a recipe. Yeah,
that's it in a nutshell. Is that Mike McDonald has kind of had. You saw it last year. Seattle's had the Lions number for, is this the 4th year in a row they're going to play them?
I think we took I think it might be. I saw a stat, and I didn't check it myself. It's something that somebody commented during one of our live shows on Woodward, and somebody said we are 1-9 against Seattle Seahawks in our last 10 meetings.
Yeah,
including the playoffs.
So, but the only thing I would then rebut there is that this is the Lions team right now is a very different team than they've had in the past.
Different.
They just are.
Yeah.
I don't know
We're pregnant.
truly how much fans recognize how good the Lions are.
Yeah.
They're you add Reader, if Aleem McNeil plays and gives you, good play, even if it's limited.
Yeah.
I don't know that Seattle's going to run much. And I do think the Lions D-line can get home. I do think that they can harass Geno Smith He's still going to make plays. They still have good
Mhm.
receivers. The player who terrifies me is Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Really?
Terrifies me in this matchup. He just
So I've been
does.
paying attention to him this year. What about it?
He didn't do much in week 1. He didn't do much in week 2, but in that game where they did need to throw, he had like 11 or 12 catches.
Mm.
So, I just worry about him as a route runner, almost the same way that you would worry about St.Brown in some ways, in that
I was gonna
intermediate
say,
part of the field where it's short passing plays, extending first down. I can already feel it like, all right, it's 3rd and 11. We're going to get off the field, and they just completed a pass for 12 yards to Smith and Jigba. And, you can – that's the kind of
yeah,
player he is. He's really hard to cover. I don't know exactly how the Lions are going to approach the Metcalf, Lockett, Smith and Jigba problem, but it's a problem. Just trying to recognize, this isn't a pushover kind of a game, but it's also, this is one of those games where play well and win, right?
yeah.
This is a different team. I don't know that last year there were moments where they could get pressure on. I don't remember them getting much pressure last year on Geno Smith. I just don't.
No, we
They
didn't.
may have, and at
No, it was
54,
it was bad, dude.
I don't
And it's
remember
crazy.
stuff, right? Yeah.
You said that they just met with Jason Peters last year. Similar situation. They lost both tackles, which Charles Cross ended up being great. He's good.
Yeah.
He's their starting tackle now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they signed Jason Peters to their practice squad, and we didn't get pressure at all. Like not we had one sack, and it was come from Anzalone when Gino tried extending a play in that fourth quarter or in overtime because he was running around looking for someone to to get down there. It was pitiful. But Terrell Williams, I talked about this defensive coaching staff or just the coaching staff in general. I think he is phenomenal. Just looking at his track record, and then you hear a guy like Dan Campbell, who doesn't mince words at all, call him the best defensive line coach in the league. I think we've seen that this year. And I think the emergence of Anzarike, what Lee McNeil's supposed to be down the line, but I think Reader and Anzarike would be huge in this one for Hutch to do what he's got to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the idea of Reader eating, I mean, that's kind of like football in a nutshell. Is the Reader addition. It wasn't because Reader was going to necessarily rack up huge numbers sack wise. What he was going to do was swallow double teams and leave Hutchinson one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
Where he's polished enough already as a player. He's going to get his, and he is, and he will, he should on Monday. My expectation is that he does. And he harasses Geno Smith a bunch. I think that, the Lions fans get some offsides calls and some false starts kind of stuff and put them in bad down and distance. I think that's all, to be expected. It's just a matter of, can the Lions get off the field on 3rd down? And, what do they look like on offense themselves? I wouldn't expect the Lions passing game to go bananas in this one. They may make some splash plays here and there, but I think,
it's risky business.
Yeah, but I think that you can run the ball on this team pretty well. And between Montgomery and Gibbs, I look at Montgomery and Gibbs and I see what Gibson and Stevenson did. And I think, that's kind of, I don't want to say that's the floor because that's 170 plus yards rushing. But that could easily be replicated in this game. And they're explosive enough in their running game that they don't need to be explosive in their passing attack, right? They can make those plays happen just handing the ball off. We've seen it over and over. I mean, you hand the ball off to Gibbs and those, and even Montgomery with inside zone type runs, and they're at the second level in a flash. And it's like, you break one tackle and you're gone kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, hopeful about what the offense and the defense can do, understanding that Seattle poses unique challenges to them. But again, Lions are a very different team than the team that played Seattle last year.
Yes.
The Mike McDonald stuff is a legit fear, though.
Yeah.
Right. Like he may have, in some ways, solved what the Lions do. Right.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
He had some great pieces to work with in Baltimore too. So like I'll say that, and a lot of pieces. I mean, there's not like there's not pieces on the Seattle team, but like I feel like Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams makes up for the, that's your Matabuke. Well, he doesn't have that here in this situation,
If those guys miss, the Lions have a huge advantage running the ball,
Yes.
which plays up to the entire script of this game. You don't want to be in a hurry up position against Seattle. You just don't want their offense to have the ball as much as you do. You don't.
Yeah. Yeah. They got those guys. I'm not saying that, we don't got JMO and Amon-Ra does what he does. Amon-Ra is like death by 1,000 cuts. JMO could get you anytime. All three of those guys, I think, over there can get you at any time.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
For sure.
Scott, you got stuff to get to. I might head over to this Tigers game. They're red hot. This has been an insane run for them. I haven't used StreamYard in a long time, so I don't know how to put your name on here so people can follow you and
Nobody
check you out
cares.
on Twitter.
Nobody cares, including me. I don't care. I just don't. If you want to find me on Twitter, go ahead, find me on Twitter. If you don't, okay.
All right, deal, man. Hey,
this is fun. I'm glad we're doing this. This is awesome. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. I gotta assume you're going with Detroit Lions win from listening to you talk.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll be a very tight game. I think it'll be a very stressful game back and forth to watch. It's almost, I don't want to call it a heavyweight fight, but I feel like this is, this is like, the prelude to what eventually could be between these teams. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. I think even with the absence of Frank Ragnow, and I don't want to overstate that by any means or understate that, I should say. Like, he's huge piece of what we got going, but just the trench battle, I think, goes in our favor, and we could just dominate the game, not dominate the game, but control the tempo that way.
Yeah. There's an opportunity, and you got to thread the keyhole to make it happen. But there is you could spin the story that this is how the Lions should approach things on offense.
Yes.
To run slow. What I mean by that is to, take the clock down to 5 seconds every time before you snap the ball, right? Until you get into a situation where the D-line is gassed. And at that point, get on the gas pedal. But, suck the air out of the ball and take time off the clock. Be efficient in the red zone, score touchdowns. Good to go.
Yeah, I'm with you. Real quick, I wanted to say this earlier. How about that run with Monty last week, where he gets picked up in the shuffle of men and he falls forward for like 7 more yards?
Yeah,
old school football. He's on a mission this year, man. This guy, he has been fun to watch, and I'm happy. I think having Gibbs brought the best in him because he's like, hey, I'm good too,
Oh, absolutely, and he just does it differently. Imagine being a linebacker and it's Montgomery in the game, and you got to tackle that, right? Then Gibbs comes in, and it's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to touch him. It's just the Thunder Lightning combo is ridiculous. I really hope they lean heavy on it this week and then run stuff off of it.
Yep. Old school, not old school. I'm getting old that it could be called old school. Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram.
Oh, come on. That's not old school. You're a young fella.
That's fair. All right, Scott. I appreciate you, brother. Today. Hey, guys, there's more content creators here on LNU. It's myself. There's a plethora of us. There's an army of us. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit the notification bell. Stay tuned for more Detroit Lions content. Plus, the legendary Herman will be breaking down the game at 7 p.m. on Sundays. Check us out. Appreciate you. Thank you, guys, and goodbye.